How's it going, American truckers? Hope all of y'all are doing great out there, staying safe. Um, for those of y'all that don't know me, I go by Snapper. That's my CV handle. Anyway, do a little thing on hours of service. I know there were some changes late last year, September. I think it was in September of last year. Had to get out my old man glasses because, you know, y'all young bucks, that's what y'all got to look forward to, because I wanted to get online and make sure that I was putting the correct information out there. As a little disclaimer to this is DOT rules, fmcsa rules. I'm going to give them to you exactly how they got it. I'm also going to put a link in the description where you can go look this stuff up yourself as well if you want to read it, or verify what I'm telling you. Also, you want to keep in mind that this is the base rules. So whatever company you work for, they can go above and beyond these rules. But they can't go below them, if that makes sense to you. In other words, they can't tell you you can do this. This right here is law. But they may have things that they add to it, and they can do that. So make sure, especially if you're working for a training company, Stevens Transport, one of them outfits, that because they oftentimes do that. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to get into the yard move. I'm going to do that one first. Going to talk a little bit about that and the rules behind it. The 30-minute break, there were some changes to it back in September as well. And let me get my glasses on. I wrote this stuff down. But anyway, and the sleeper berth. There were some changes to the sleeper berth as well. I'm gonna get into that also. Anyway, the yard move. First, it must be at a customer or at your company's terminal or at a terminal. It has to be in an area that is restricted to the public. In other words, you can't do a yard move at a truck stop. Obviously, that's public. You can't do a yard move at your house. That too, even though it's your house, it's your property, it's still it's on the list. It's not considered one of the places you can do it. Basically, the area has to either be fenced off or have signage, restricted access. Basically, areas made just for trucks is what they're trying to keep it down to. The other part to that rule is the whole move must be in that restricted area. In other words, let's say, excuse me, I smoked too much. Let's say you're picking up at one warehouse, and for whatever reason you're delivering to another warehouse 2 blocks away. You can't do a yard move because you got to get on a public street. Once you get on a public street, that yard move's up. You can't do it. If you get stopped, you're in trouble. I know some of y'all may say, well, how the hell are they going to know? Well, they can go back 8 days on your logs. If you have an accident or something like that, especially if it's a fatality accident, even if someone rear-ends you and kills themselves, they're probably going to go into your logs real deep. They're going to have lawyers looking into your logs. They'll be GPSing it, making sure that all your information's correct, and that's probably when that type of stuff will come in hand. The yard move does not count towards your 11. It don't count towards your drive time for the day. But a yard move does subtract from your 70. And let's say you stay the night at a shipper or receiver, and then you go into yard move to go back into a dock because you don't want to start your clock yet until you get loaded. It ain't going to help you there, because once you go into yard move, it will start your 14. Alright. And like I said, I'm going to post a link in the description so y'all can go look this stuff up if you want to check it out. Next is a 30-minute break. Alright. The only change they made to the 30-minute break back in September, let me look, yeah, September of 2020, was before our 30-minute break had to all be either off duty or in a sleeper berth. Now, your 30-minute break is anything you're doing that's not driving. So when you pull into the fuel island, let's say you pull in, you're going to get fuel. On duty, not driving, getting fuel, that counts towards your 30-minute break. I really like that they added this because now guys don't have to pull forward and sit for 30 minutes off duty. Don't need to anymore. That 7, 8, 10 minutes, whatever you spent getting fuel, cleaning your windows, dumping your trash, it counts towards your 30-minute break as well now. That's the only change there was to the 30-minute break. The sleeper berth used to be an 8-2. Now it's basically a 7-3, which is pretty cool. I mean, we're not set for 8 hours, we can set for 7. I'm going to give an overview of a sleeper berth, and to be honest with you, man, I mean, I don't use sleeper berth that much. It's pretty useless in most situations. But just in case you ever want to use it, this is a brief overview of it. And like I said, there'll be a link in the description, so you can go look at how to use how to do sleeper berth, if you ever forget or whatever, or you can tag that page or whatever. It really isn't used very often or needed, I would say very often, but if you're running reefer, I used it a lot, but running dry box or running flatbed or hoppers, I hardly ever used split sleeper. But anyway, here's how split sleeper works now. It's a 7-2 split. Your 7 hours, it has to be at least 7 hours. Now it can be 8, it can be 9, but it has to be a minimum of 7. Has to be sleeper berth. So that's your first break, 'cause it's split into 2. So your first break, a minimum of 7 hours, has to be sleeper berth. Your second break, which is going to be 3 hours, if you're doing 7 and 3, because both breaks have to equal 10 hours. Your second break doesn't have to all be sleeper berth. Your second break can be off duty, it can be sleeper berth, either or. But kind of give you a little example of how a sleeper berth works. Let's say you drive 5 hours. Alright, now you got 6 hours of drive time left, right? You're going to deliver at the shipper, but you can't deliver till later in the day. But you don't have enough time to take a full 10-hour break, but you do have enough time to take a 7-hour break. So what you'll do is you'll put yourself in sleeper berth for the next 7 hours, 7.5 hours, whatever. Get up, you're going to have that 6 hours available. The 6 hours you didn't use, you're going to have that available. And whatever you didn't use on your 14 is going to be available. Now you can go deliver to your shipper or go pick up or whatever it is you got going on. But you're only going to have the hours you didn't use. So if you used 5 hours of drive time, and just to make it simple, you used 5 hours on your 14, you're going to have the 6 hours of drive time, and what's left on your 14 is what you'll have to drive after your 7 hours in sleeper berth. Now you can drive, you don't have to drive all of it. Let's say you got 6 hours and you only need 2 of it. You can run that 2 hours, do what you got to do, put yourself in off duty for another 3 hours. You're going to get the rest of the time back, if that makes sense to you. You'll get the rest of what you had coming once you finish the other half of that break. That's the way a sleeper berth works. If you're gonna if you're gonna have to take both breaks before you pick up or deliver, you might as well just take a 10. Do it all at once. You see what I'm saying? There's no reason to run a split sleeper if you're gonna have to do both breaks before picking up or delivering, because you're gonna take 10 hours anyway, unless you just have a weird sleep cycle and you only sleep 6 hours and you're sitting there bored and ready to run. I mean, that's the only way I could see it being beneficial to you. But anyway, I hope this makes sense to you. If it don't, or you need more explanation or whatever, man, I'm be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. I know sleeper berth can be a little bit confusing for people. It's easier to demonstrate drawing it out. Back when I learned it, that's how I learned it. And I have a dry erase board that I use for students, and I draw it out and actually break it all down. You know how to do a split sleeper berth. That way they understand it. But feel free to email me, Americantruckersunited@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Morgan Colt Buckley. That's my name. You can find me on, I got a trucking group on there as well, American Truckers United. You can also find me on Instagram, morgan.buckley.336. Like I said, just shoot me a message if you have a question about something, or something that we discussed here doesn't make sense. I hope it really does. And like I said, the link will be in the description below. So y'all stay safe out there. Stay out of trouble. Try to keep it between the ditches. And don't give DOT no money. As we used to say in the old days, don't feed the bears. Don't be feeding the bears, man. Follow these rules. If you want to put DOT out of business, don't give them no money. That's why you put them out of business. Follow the law. Anyway, y'all stay safe. As you know, we're a family out here. Be good to each other. You know, it's one of the old school traits I really wish we'd bring back. You know, we were really good to each other back in the day. And remember, we're all family. And y'all keep trucking.